Welcome back to Talk Freak, where learning English means exploring real stories that change the world. Today we'll travel through one of the most dramatic and controversial lives in human history, Adolf Hitler. His name is known everywhere. Some remember him as a symbol of power, others as a warning of destruction. But how did an ordinary boy from a small town become one of the most feared leaders the world has ever seen? Let's find out together. Put on your headphones, relax, and listen carefully, because this story is not only about history, it's also about dreams, failure, ambition, and the choices that define us. Early life, the boy who dreamed of art. The story begins on April 20th, 1889, in Braunau am Inn, a quiet border town in Austria. Alois and Clara Hitler welcomed a baby boy, Adolf. Their home was modest but filled with hope. Adolf's father, Alois, was a government worker, proud, serious, and strict. He expected discipline and success. His mother, Clara, was gentle, loving, and deeply protective of her son. From a young age, little Adolf loved to draw. He would sit for hours sketching buildings, trees, and soldiers, imagining grand worlds beyond his small town. When he wasn't drawing, he read books about German history and heroes of the past. He dreamed of doing something great, something people would remember. But life at home was not peaceful. His father wanted him to follow in his footsteps and become a civil servant. Adolf refused. "I want to be an artist," he said. His father replied sharply, "Art doesn't feed you. You'll work, not dream." The arguments became frequent. Adolf grew silent and distant, spending more time alone. At 13, his father died suddenly of a lung hemorrhage. For a moment, it seemed Adolf might finally be free to chase his dreams. But instead, he lost direction. His grades dropped, and his teachers called him intelligent but lazy. At 16, he left school with no diploma and big dreams, but no plan. Vienna, dreams in defeat. In 1907, Adolf packed his bags and took a train to Vienna, the capital of art and culture. The city was full of magnificent buildings, music, and color. He was certain this was where his destiny would begin. He applied to the Academy of Fine Arts, Vienna. He believed he would be accepted easily. But when the results came, he was rejected. The examiners said his drawings lacked skill in human figures. They suggested he should try architecture instead. But Adolf didn't listen. He applied again the next year and was rejected once more. This time, his dream truly shattered. His mother, the only person who truly supported him, became ill with cancer and died soon after. Adolf was devastated. Now alone, jobless, and heartbroken, he wandered the streets of Vienna. He lived in small rented rooms, sometimes in homeless shelters. To survive, he painted postcards and small city scenes to sell to tourists. Every rejection, every cold night, filled him with more anger and bitterness. He began to see the world as unfair, a place where talent didn't matter, only power did. He started reading political pamphlets and newspapers that spread extreme ideas. In those lonely years, seeds of hatred and nationalism started to grow in his heart. World War I, the soldier. In 1914, when World War I began, Adolf felt he finally had a purpose again. He volunteered to join the German army, even though he was Austrian. He served as a messenger on the front lines in France and Belgium, carrying messages under heavy fire. He showed bravery and discipline, earning 2 medals for courage, including the Iron Cross. For the first time, he felt respected. He had brothers in arms, a sense of belonging, and something to fight for. But the war was brutal. Millions died. In 1918, Germany lost the war. Adolf was temporarily blinded by gas and hospitalized when he heard the news of defeat. He couldn't believe it. How could we lose? Who betrayed us? When the war ended, the Treaty of Versailles punished Germany severely, taking away land, money, and pride. Adolf was furious. He believed Germany had been stabbed in the back by weak leaders and enemies within. This anger would later become the fire that fueled his rise. The politician finding his voice. After the war, Germany was in chaos. Inflation, unemployment, and hunger spread everywhere. People lost faith in their government. In this turmoil, Adolf joined a small political group called the German Workers' Party. He didn't plan to be a leader, but when he spoke at meetings, people listened. His voice was powerful, emotional, and full of confidence. He spoke about pride, unity, and revenge. He blamed others for Germany's problems and promised to restore greatness. Crowds grew larger. He renamed the party the National Socialist German Workers' Party, or Nazi Party, and designed its now infamous symbol, the swastika. By 1923, he believed he was ready to seize power. He tried to overthrow the government in what became known as the Beer Hall Putsch, but the attempt failed miserably. He was arrested and sent to prison. During those 9 months in jail, he wrote his book, Mein Kampf, My Struggle. In it, he shared his extreme ideas about race, power, and his vision for a new Germany. The book later became the blueprint for his future. The Chancellor, Promise and Control. After leaving prison, Hitler worked tirelessly to rebuild the Nazi Party. By using smart propaganda, strong speeches, and public fear, he slowly gained popularity. In 1933, he was appointed Chancellor of Germany. At first, people celebrated. Germany was weak, but he promised to make it strong again. He started big national projects, roads, bridges, factories, and unemployment dropped quickly. Citizens began to believe in him. Hitler has saved Germany, and they said. But behind the success, he built a machine of control. He censored newspapers, banned other parties, and used secret police to silence opposition. He created the Hitler Youth, training children to obey him like a god. Through fear and propaganda, he turned an entire nation into followers. World War II, Rise and Fall. In 1939, Hitler invaded Poland, starting World War II. At first, he seemed unstoppable. His armies conquered much of Europe, France, Norway, and many others. But then, he made a fatal mistake. He attacked the Soviet Union, opening a second front. Soon after, the United States joined the war. The tide began to turn. Meanwhile, behind the front lines, the Holocaust unfolded. The systematic murder of millions of Jews, Roma, and others he saw as inferior. It remains one of the darkest chapters in human history. By 1944, Germany was losing on all sides. Cities were destroyed by bombs. Millions were dead. Hitler refused to surrender. The final days in early 1945, Soviet forces closed in on Berlin. Hitler and his closest followers hid in an underground bunker. He was sick, paranoid, and broken. On April 29th, he married Eva Braun, his longtime companion. The next day, April 30th, 1945, realizing the war was lost, they both took their own lives. He was 56 years old. Germany surrendered a week later. The world was left in ruins, but free from his dictatorship. Lessons from history. Adolf Hitler's life is a story of how ambition can turn into obsession, how dreams can become nightmares, and how hate can destroy everything. He rose from poverty to power through words, and those same words led millions to suffering. His story teaches us to be careful with our beliefs, to question what we hear, and to choose compassion over anger. Because even one person's hatred can change the world, but so can one person's kindness. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story and want to improve your English while exploring real history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Talk Freak. See you in the next lesson. And remember, history is the best teacher.